Hello everyone, how are you? Are you all doing good? First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Randler De La Cruz of Group 2. I know this pandemic that we are facing right now was so exhausting. We are required to stay at home, we're not allowed to go outside and play or hang out with our friends. Staying at home has brought a lot of problems, and we know it makes the people anxious and experience deep sadness. And one of the reasons was lack of communication. So in this video, we're going to talk about the importance of communication. But before we proceed, let's play a game for you to have some idea about our topic.
Hello guys, I'm Kyle Montero and let's play a game. Here's how you can play the game. We're going to flash on your screen a word but with a missing letter, so you have to guess what word is it before the 5 seconds end. Here's the first word.
The correct word is communication model.
Here's the second word.
The correct word is receiver.
Here's the third word.
The correct word is linear communication.
Here's the fourth word.
The correct word is message.
Here's the fifth word.
The correct word is interactive communication.
Here's the sixth word.
The correct word is feedback.
And here's the last word.
The correct word is transactional communication.
How is it? Did you enjoy the game? I hope you enjoy it.
Here's the objectives. It is easy to understand the process of communication. It shows the flow of information. It introduces the parts of communication process. It is easy to present the communication process. And last is we can understand the complexities of communication.
When you hear the word communication, what comes to your mind? Yes! A conversation or a trading of informations from one another to another. But let's have a quick recall what is communications really are. So, communication comes from the Latin word communicatio, which means to share or sharing or imparting. From this, we reach the word communication. So, communication is an act of sharing, but of informations, thoughts, words, ideas, and more. To hear something? Let's have a story. In this story, communication is involved, so please listen carefully and observe.
The Glitch by Divina P. Maming. The La Cruz family came together for breakfast. Each has his own story to tell about his experience for the week. This is the usual scenario every Sunday morning. "Good morning, kids," greeted the mother who had just finished setting the table for 5. Tonyo and Maria could not wait to reach for their chairs with a big grin on their faces as they said, "Good morning, Nanay." Griselda walked out from her room, still sleepy, her hair unkempt, her slipper on but appeared equally thrilled as her siblings shared the table with their mother. "Nanay, I can smell the aroma of your best delicacy, adobo," she remarked. "Yeah, I know. It is the favorite of the family, so adobo is what I prepared today," she answered. Griselda replied, "I can't wait to taste it." Mang Cardo, the man of the family, is a clerk in one of the rural banks in town. He was talking to somebody over the phone. His voice echoed excitement, but later on, his positive mood gradually vanished. As he turned towards the table, he shrugged his shoulders for disappointment. "Let's eat!" Mother exclaimed, wanting to turn the situation around. But everybody seemed to have been overwhelmed by their father's silence. It was the first time they saw him in a really low spirit. "What happened?" At last, the wife asked. "I may lose my job," he said with a croaky voice. "But why?" Aling Terry was surprised, and so were the children. She quickly walked towards him and patted his shoulder. "It's okay. You can still find another job," she said, offering him a seat. The children also let their father feel their support as they smilingly uttered, "Tatay, don't worry. We are here to help." "Yes, we will assist Nanay in selling fish in the market after school hours," Tanya said. "Maybe we can add vegetables to sell too, for additional income," Maria added. Griselda, on the other hand, volunteered to do the home chores. "Thank you, my dear children," was all Aling Terry could say. Mancardo was moved by his family's gesture. He was not expecting for such an all-out support. He felt good about it. He started asking his kids about their activities in school and how they fared in their subjects. Each of them excitedly told his own story. Griselda declared, "I got highest score in math, so my teacher rewarded me with a bar of chocolate." Tonya then mentioned about their project in science, which could eliminate food smell, and everyone poked fun at it. They asked him whether they could try the product to see if it would really work. Maria spoke about their field trip to the town's historical heritage and talked about what she learned from it. Exchanges of stories persisted until someone gave Mancardo a ring. The ringing lasted for some seconds, and finally, he stood up to answer the call. As he returned to the table, he was smiling. He was informed that the retrenchment was not for him. It was a mistake. Now, the glitch is fixed, and he is to report to work the next day again. All of them could not contain their happiness, and so they sat down again to eat all together. "We will go to the church after breakfast." As usual, Mancardo sighed with relief.
What are the different communication instances in the story?
The different communication that instances in the story is a verbal communication. It usually occurs when we engage in speaking with others.
How did each communication scenario develop?
Each communication scenario developed because their family has a good communication that is more improving their communicating skills. It developed by simply understanding by the receiver the message and perform a feedback.
Did a conflict arise in the story? Did it affect the communication process? How did the rest of the family members react to it?
I think there's a conflict that arises, and that is the conflict of communication. In that case, it affects the communication process. It was resolved by the family members of De La Cruz expressing all the support. They communicate very well, comforted each other, and mostly their father.
How can we establish a good communication?
We can establish a good and nice communication by communicating in a proper way. What are the proper ways? First, we must have a proper tone when talking. Second, we must have to speak slowly but clearly. Third, Third, right construct of words. And lastly, we must also learn to listen and allow participation.
In human life, communication plays a crucial role. It facilitates the sending and receiving of knowledge and information. In performing communication, people enhance their social relationship, and it's a great advantage. Today, we're going to talk about the models of communication process. We have three kinds of models of communication process. First, we have the linear communication. Second, we have the interactive communication. And third, we have the transactional communication. Let's proceed to the first kind of models of communication process, the linear communication.
Linear communication.
Hi, I'm Cecilia, and today I'm going to discuss about linear communication. Have you talked to somebody but didn't get any reaction at all? Or have you experienced sending a message but don't get any response or a feedback? This is the linear communication. What is a linear communication? A linear communication is a one-way communication whereby a sender transmits a message and the receiver absorbs it. It indicates that the linear communication is a kind of communication where the sender don't receive any response or feedback. In this communication, there is no feedback, there is no concept barrier, meaning that the opinion of the receiver is not very important. Once the sender delivers the message to the receiver, that's where the process ends. Because linear communication is mostly used for public speaking, mass gatherings, and propaganda setting, like political campaign. One of the example of linear communication is the Shannon-Weaver model of communication of 1949, which is considered as the mother of all communication. In communication, there are 5 components that are involved. Now, we start at the sender, where the information or message came from, passing through the encoder, where the sender uses to convert the message into signal, then transmit it to the receiver. Now, going through the channel who adopting the signals for transmission or being interrupted by a noise or a barrier to the receiver who decodes the message from signals. Now, when the message reach the destination, that is where the process stops.
Interactive communication.
Hello everyone, I'm Maria Alondra Amor Javier. Have you experienced receiving a response from a friend after you sent them a message? What response did you get? In this part of the video, we're going to talk about the second kind of models of communication process, the interactive communication. An interactive model of communication is also known as convergence model. It is not a linear model of communication or one-way process. Instead, it is defined as an interactive two-way process of communication as both participants are equally involved in alternative positions for encoding and decoding message. It's indicate that in this type of communication, whenever a sender sends a message, there will be a feedback that will follow. To understand more about interactive communication, the Scrum model was made. It was proposed in 1954 and had its origin in the Shannon-Weaver model. It suggests that communication is a two-way path with the message continually passing between the sender and the receiver. This model states that two elements are required to send a message, that is the sender and the receiver, and both of them have to encode and decode the message.
Transactional communication.
In transactional model of communication, it refers to the continuous exchange of information where both sender and receiver are involved in the process and take turns to communicate messages. The transactional model is a two-way process and not a one-way linear model of communication, like the other models of communication.
What does that mean? It means that when you are in a face-to-face meeting, phone calls, chat sessions, or in a meeting in which all attendees are participating by sharing ideas, thoughts, or comments, they perform the continuous exchange of information. The main components of transactional communication process are the encoder and decoder of message, the communicator, the message, the channel, and the noise. In the transactional model, the sender wishes to convey information to a receiver. The sender encodes the message using methods such as speech or writing, and the receiver decodes the message by listening or reading. Context and noise are two critical barriers to effective communication.
Let's have a recall. Communication comes from the Latin word communicatio, which means to share. It's an act of sharing, but with information or thoughts. We can establish good communication by communicating in a proper way, having a proper tone when talking, speak slowly and clearly, write constructive words, and learn to listen and participate. We have three kinds of models of communication process. The first one is linear communication, where the sender don't receive any feedback. It is a one-way communication where the receiver only absorbs it. Shannon-Weaver is one example of linear communication. It is considered as the mother of all communication. The second type is the interactive communication. In this kind of communication process, the sender receives a feedback from the receiver of message. It is also called the convergence model. A Scrum model is one of the example of interactive communication who states that the two elements are required to send the message, and that is the sender and the receiver. And the last type of communication process is the transactional communication, where the continuous exchange of information perform.
3, 2, 1.
Communication models helps identify and understand the components and relationship of communication being studied. Models represent new ideas and various aspects of communication which help us to plan effective communication systems.